Hello everybody and welcome back to Jake's RC Stuff. For the first time in a little while, we're actually going to be on the bench, but not doing exactly happy work. So apologies I've missed a few videos. It's been because I have been doing modelling stuff, but I've been selling stuff and I haven't wanted to put stuff that I'm selling in a video and then people go on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or wherever. Basically use a list to find out who I am and all that other baloney. So that's why I maybe missed an extra week than normal. But here we are with the remains, the wings are down here, of my Flex Innovations RV-8. If you're not sure what happened to this, there are videos on the channel. Another thing that I will quickly mention, because there is a lot of white, I am currently running at 24 frames a second, or 25. Whatever the PAL equivalent is, so the lights don't flicker as much. So if it's a bit less smooth than what you're used to, and it's a bit more cinematic, that's why. So if you don't know what happened to this, I have got videos on the channel of what happened to it. The fault was down to a faulty receiver that was there. That, after testing, after the crash, during race check mode, would rapidly flicker between green and red. It was a Futaba. It was an 8-channel, but it was the FHSS one, not the fast stuff. First time I've used one of them, and will be the last. Just even if it was just a one-off, I'm not trusting it. So yeah, I sent it back to Ripmax, and Ripmax are the kind of company that will say, we couldn't find anything wrong, but we swapped this part in your radio, or we've sent you a new receiver just in case. They'll never admit to the fault, because if they admit to the fault and it turns out it wrecked a £3,000 jet, or many more for jets, they could legally be required to pay you for that model. So I think they just never admit blame. But here we are. So I got a brand new receiver, and it was brand new. It was all in the packet as it should be, and I immediately sold it. If and when I get another one of these, it'll just have a normal fast receiver in. So I don't think I ever actually showed you the bits of what was left, but one thing that you'll very quickly see is that the reason why I'm scrapping this plane instead of buying a new fuselage and fixing everything else and putting it back together again is because there isn't really anything that hasn't been touched. The fuselage, obviously, is missing quite an important bit. There's some of it, but all the wood's matchsticks that is in the front. Take the canopy off. Oh, take the remains of the... There we are. Taking the cowl off. I need to get a black bag. Just getting the hardware out. What is good to say about it is the fact that this is an incredibly solid piece. You know, it's the wing tube across there did hit a wing and the fuselage at the same time, so it had knocks in both ways. And the wing broke before this traded. Got the Potenza still there, that needs taking out. I'm going to get a bin bag. I did have a bin bag, but I decided to put the prop in, and of course I ripped the bag immediately, like an idiot. Yeah, so basically this video is going to be taking the stuff out, showing what's here, seeing what I can try and, you can see the amount of stress, see what we try and get out of it, show you all the sort of bits that are damaged. I mean, even things like, this is where the lug for the rear of the canopy goes in. You can see how deformed that is. The stress marks here, even the rudder, it's got a little nick in it. I believe the undercarriage is hit there. I don't know where the undercarriage is actually. Maybe the undercarriage, one of the plastic splats is snapped in half. Spats, not splats. Spats snapped in half, so that's not good. And the actual metalwork of the undercarriage is massively bent, so that's just going to have to take the tyres off of it and throw a bit of metal away. I'm probably going to keep the rudder and the tail, or the tail fin and the tail plane, and most electronics. The servos are a bit slow. I'm not sure if I put them in anything else, but if I do get another one of these, it's always good to have a spare. Or, or they can be, pen and tilt servos and stuff. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, there's where I believe the tail is hit. The tail plane is sort of disconnected. What I believe happened is they just fit together, and I think in the shock they've sort of gone like this, if you see what I mean, and disconnected the elevator, and then when I've pushed it back in, it's not connected with that side, but the plastic itself is all right. Again, they've just, it's hard for you to see. You can see they're just not joined up anymore, so they've just bent in the impact and not sprung back properly. So I'm gonna get some bits out. I'll show you all the bits that are damaged and stuff like that, and we'll go from there. Okay, so before I actually do much on the fuselage, I'm going through the bucket of bits, and when I say it was reduced to matchsticks, you know, we really weren't far off. So the motor, can't actually tell. Actually, it seems to rotate all right, but you can see the impact on the firewall. At least two legs are bent. Can't really tell which way up it was. Spinner's obviously smashed, that's just plastic. Prop's gone. So let me take all the ancillary crap off, and we'll see if we at least have a motor that's useful for something. Okay, so the answer to did I at least get a motor out of this? Yes and no. You can see, because of how this was bent, you can see the. There they are. I mean, get spares of them, that's fine. But it's literally bent the motor in. You can see, and it isn't the same at all bits. So there's a little bit of foam in there, but that'll get minced up. Now it still rotates all right, but obviously you don't know what knock the bearings have had with that. Yeah, kind of sad that really. I'll keep hold of it. It can always be a spare. As I say, it's an I don't know, but we'll do as a spare. But yeah, so sort of a motor out of it, and also a strip of carbon rod and a claw nut and a screw. Wow, I know. So let me get more parts taken apart, and we'll carry on from there. Okay, so again, the do I trust it argument plays in, but I think the speed controller's alright. It's had sort of the label knocked, but nothing seems knocked off of it. Never heard of this HTLC brand before. Has a 6 amp to 10 amp Beck. Personally, I always prefer Becks soldered right onto the connectors. Now, some people don't like that because that is, oh, you're constantly messing with it. You could knock one of the gentle wires off. Okay, maybe put it in the centre then. But I don't like them soldered here, and I definitely don't like them on the throttle wire, because if this goes pop bang badang-a-dang and explodes, and this wire becomes unsoldered, then we're knackered. You lose servos, you've lost your plane. For example, in the Taft Hobbies Viper jet, the only reason why I was able to land that when that set on fire was because the spec was soldered here. So the end of these wires, there was no speed controller left, there was just the heatsink. So the wires were sort of rattling about in the plane as it set on fire, but I was able to land it because the servos were still getting power from the battery. Obviously, if they shorted out, it could have been a problem, but certainly better than nothing. Well, I won't throw that in the bag because the break again. But no, that is a possible speed controller. What I will probably do is put some masking tape on it, say X RV-8 or something like that. But yeah, we'll get rid of some more matchsticks and some screws, and we'll be back again with something else. So yeah, I don't know where the undercarriage is, but that's a bit of the spat. Yeah, and the metal, as I say, is all bent and out of shape and all over the place. So yeah, to the bin bag it goes. So just to give you some idea of the shape the fuselage is in, or the amount of bits, as you can tell, isn't that many, but they're just all that stretched and bent, and with it being, you know, this is a pusher RV-8, you know, like a Skywalker or an Easy Star or something like that. You know, they can sort of be bodged on the front. If it's not quite straight, it doesn't matter. But obviously when there's a notch on the front, it's a problem. Steadily getting through bits and grass and stuff like that. Back in a sec. So as we get down to the last few matchsticks, we have a battery strap, and we have what remains of the battery tray. If you remember, it was a massive long battery tray, and with the big 5000 battery. I think the 5000 battery is about here, which is why that's all in one big thing. The battery took the extra strength, and everything in front of it is just a really bendy mess. So I'll take all the straps off, and it can join everything in the bin bag. Okay, so moving on to the canopy, and you can again see the stress, and it's broken off the tag at the back, even though it managed to last long enough to do this damage. So yeah, in terms of this, in terms of what am I going to save, gonna get the pallet out, why not? Be a little mascot. You can see the battery or something's really whacked into that. Take this little, that was easy. So we've got that, which could be useful on something. I'm going to take the plastic off, going to save our guy. Save the guy, take the plastic off, all the foam will go in the bin. So, back in a sec. Okay, I'm not sure if you class this as some sort of decapitation, but there was a post coming out of there that was then glued into the canopy. But you can see it from underneath. So I don't know, he could be a mascot or something. I did snap the canopy in half, sort of where the pallet was, because big block, you know, we're stuck to that. So then there's just a little bit of foam out the side. Snap that, there was no carbon in it, so nothing to really rescue there. We've got this, sort of the actual fuselage itself now to deal with. I'm going to take all the electronics out. Interested to try actually programming this Potenza and seeing the type of things you can do with it, because obviously they have the flex jet, which I also have, that can do all the vectored thrust stuff. Vectored thrust in a different way, like instead of it being something more like elevons like it is on the flex jet, it's an elevator and a rudder channel, but there is the vectored thrust fun jets from Multiplex, so maybe this could be the brain in one of them, because the big expense of that is buying some sort of gyro to do it, and now I've possibly got one. We can see, so I'm going to plug that in and have a play with it. That could be a Tales from the Workshop episode. We've got our, Christ, very tight in. Come on. Swing screws. Doing it left-handed when you're not left-handed is slightly more challenging. Come on. Hopefully the 24 frames per second stuff, editing it and getting uploaded and stuff, isn't a complete nightmare, because, as I'm doing this, otherwise if I switch to the 4K 60 FPS that I normally do, you just assume it's so much flickering. My last phone had nowhere near as much of an issue, but the 14 is terrible for it. So I'm going to try and pull this out. We have Stanley knives and things like that. And then we'll look at getting servos and bits of the tail off. So get that out and we'll move down to the tail in a moment. So a Potenza Aurora 8 that I need to try and get all the squidgy foam off. There it is, configured for the RV-8 as you can see. So yeah, that'll go in the pile of usable bits. Let's head to the back and get the servos out. Okay, so the tailplanes are off, and other than that slight damage I showed previously, it's on the other one, these are actually fine. The tube also isn't cracked as far as I can tell, so that's another thing that's fine. Try to take the servos out, and they are absolutely glued fast. Might be a saw job to get them out. Also, I can't remember, did I glue this in? Is this me? It looks like epoxy. I'm not usually one to use epoxy. Did I do this? That's really weird. Did we glue it on? I might have to look at my old, the video of putting it together and see, but that's a little weird. It must be. I totally want to make that go for the factory. I must have glued this on, which again is a shame. I know gluing on means it's not going to come off. Yes, not me that's done that. So I've glued it on, but it just means that I can't really use this bit now for another model. I'll still try and take it off and see how we go, because this might be in a better nick than if I did get another one that got broken. However it is. There's so many flex planes that I'd like. To be honest with you, the 10 size stuff on the 6S 1800s aren't really me. I prefer the bigger stuff. I've had the choice, but obviously I've got the little yak. It's a 55. I prefer 54s, but you know, big fan of the yak. Just might get one of them. But basically, all the 60 stuff I'd like. I'd love a Mamba. I'd love another one of these. The foam cap as well, I think, is really exciting. I really hope that their next sort of foam models is making a small cap and a big, or a big yak of the foamy size. And of course, all the wooden petrol stuff I'd have. Ultimate Mamba, Big Mamba, which we've kind of already got. We've got a Beast from Hangar 9, which is a similar thing, designed by Kiki. So there's those two. There's two Mambas. There's the Ultimate, which looks incredible. The Edge again looks incredible. And of course the big RV-8, which is the one I would have first after all of them. You know, this, with all the kit in it, costs half as much as just the kit. Sorry, this with all the electronics, should I say, costs half as much as just the kit of that. I did consider all the stuff from the Jet project, maybe going towards getting a big RV-8, but still a little bit out of reach for now. And I've suddenly remembered, of course, somewhere there should have been a front bit for putting the floats on. I think it must have been here. Well, that's where it stopped. Well, we can take that out, I guess, and have a look at that. Take all the tail and stuff off, and then use saws, basically, to try and get the other stuff out. So yeah, I'm going to do some unscrewing and take a look in there. Yes, if you wanted to know, there's just a slot, which is all plastic, and then that goes in to sort of fix around the bar. Again, we'll get to try and sort the wood out of the front, but I'm half tempted just to make it easier to deal with to saw this rear section off. In fact, I'm going to get a saw and we'll give that a go. I'll be completely honest, I was using the big saw for sort of comedic effect, but actually what I wanted to do is probably going to be the best. I just need to make sure I don't cut to the servo wires that I'm actually desperately trying to save. But let's get back to cutting. I'll be honest with you, this is hurting a little bit. You know, it's different when bits are already sort of broken, but this bit looks almost brand new. And I'm cutting it up with a saw. It feels really weird. I'm hitting the carbon tube, which is why I'm having to sort of go around the plane and also be careful not to cut any wires. Yeah, this, I thought I'd be sort of over it, but yeah, it's, you know, it was my favourite model. It's not pleasant, and I don't have the money to replace it. Obviously, if Flex or Aerobatics, again, it was nothing to do with them. It was technically Ritmex or Futaba's fault. Want to send me another one? Feel free. Very many shout outs and very many, yes. Yeah, let's carry on trying to get the bits out. And now we need a Hoover, but also you know, we've got the actual rear section off, and yeah, I'm still going to have to do a bit of work to try and get these servos out. I'm probably going to work on trying to get the tail off, because that's a bit I do want to save as neat as possible, and then we'll go from there. So bear with me a sec, we'll try and get that off nice and neat with a knife. Back in a sec. Okay, so I don't think it was intentionally glued. I think what's happened is it was screwed into this plate, because as soon as I popped this out, the servo fell out. I think it was screwed into this plate, and then where the glue is here, it had leaked a little bit. You can see it sort of ran a little bit in there, and because it's just tight laser cut fit, that's why it won't come out. Might not even technically glued to the servo, but just that little bit of extra thickness in there, and it was a nightmare. So that's that done. We'll try and take this bit of plastic out. Okay, well, accidentally I managed to rip this off, so I'm going to keep this bit. That's fine. We're going to keep the arm on it. The rest of it was a nightmare. It was glued on. I mean, you know, sort of the bad bit. The rod, the bit of carbon rod, which was this. I mean, you can see how much epoxy I'd put on it. This is the bit that was in the plane, so that's their glue. That's my glue. You can tell it's definitely stuck a lot more. So we've got that. Taken that bit off, the bottom of the underneath. A bit for the tail wheel. The tail wheel itself. Something that was really interesting was, so this is the tail, that's the rudder joint. 2 little bearings were glued in there, which is good because my battery was pretty much always at the back, so without them I'd have needed to right away. Anyway, these are the 2 bits of plastic that go on the rear. They've been glued there, so I have sort of snapped them off there, but if you get another one of these, they're fine. And of course we have the servos. That was the one that you've already seen. This one, as you can tell, it's still in its wood, and it just must have had a little bit of glue somewhere on that edge, probably looking at it. Yeah, so that's why that wasn't coming out, but I mean, you see I managed to wrench the whole bit of wood out, it's still stuck in, so I just let go of it there. So I'll chuck the wood in the bin. So there's servos. Again, probably wouldn't use them on anything other than this or a similar model. So then there's this, which we basically need to try and smash apart just to get to carbon fibre, really. And then that'll be the fuselage gone, and we can move on to the wings. So let me do some smashing, and we'll get some carbon fibre out. Okay, what I'd have to say, so this is the block for holding in the skis, or skis? Yeah, skis. There's more than enough surface area for that to be glued in, so that's really good. And this is what's left of the fuselage of the RV-8. So I'll try and find a box to put all these various bits in, and then we'll start on the wing. Okay, so this is the left wing, and you might be able to say, what's wrong with the right wing? There's nothing wrong. You know, all these are still connected, still working fine. This is the problem. This. So the metal tongue, I guess, comes out of here, and you screw it in the fuselage here. That ripped out. So in order to fix this, I'd have to, I guess, go for the top, because it would already be a mess around here anyway. Try and rebuild the former and put the leg through. I don't actually know where to put the leg. I may have thrown that away, which is maybe not accessible, but we can always make a new one. But the actual wingtip and everything's fine, not burst across the seam on the front. Probably going to keep this as is and just put this in the loft for now. There's the wing tube. The wing tube. Wing tube is fine. And then the left wing. Now the left wing hit the ground when the fuselage did, so you can see all the creases where it's clearly been quite heavily bent. There's the tongue I was talking about. That's actually still solid on that side. You can see the creases. See all the creases in here, and then you can see. I want to know what the inside of all these look like. Trippers again, alright. There's a bit of mud, but that could have even been from before this flight. You can sort of see the wing is not, it's pushed in and it's split open. I'm probably going to keep both wings just so I've got them. You know, like for example, if I did get another one, somehow broke it, I might sacrifice this wing to get this tab out, for example. So yeah, I think I'm going to keep both wings. So that's the end of the structure. I'm going to keep them with these in. Might put the rudder and the tailplane in with these, and these are going to be ready to go in the loft. That's going to come and hinge a little bit. But again, I don't think this wing will ever see or feel air under it again. There's the wire for the lights, which I think just must run off servo power and a little 5-volt at the end. Yeah, so I'll put these in the loft as they are. But so that really means that is the end of the RV-8. Real sad. Well, there's me COG mark. I will have another RV-8 of some sort for one of these. Maybe I have to be super cheap and get the 10 size, even though I'm not too bothered about it. Maybe they do a smaller RV-8, but still bigger, if you see what I mean. 35cc size, which would be like the equivalent of a 50 probably, if the 70 is the size of 100. But obviously I would like a 100. It's all money. It's all money. Unless, of course, there's, again, if Flex or Aerobatics or any other Flex distributors want to give me a hand, that would be great. But, yeah. Just for one last time, this was, of course, not Flex or Aerobatics' fault. It was very Futaba or Ripmax. Ripmax couldn't really have done out. They still lie every time you send them a receiver. But other than that, you know, it's Futaba that made the faulty item that crashed the plane. And ultimately, really, it's my fault. I didn't do a race check. Technically, you should do a race check every occasion you go to the site, but every flight, if you don't want to be pedantic. I never did it on here. It's made me learn a lesson. It's also the first time in a while that I've actually seen a plane of mine crash. Like most of the planes that I've crashed for the last few years have been FPVs. You don't see, you know, bits fly in the air. Other people have seen bits fly in the air and they've hit the floor, but I haven't. So I'm going to keep everything as is. It can all go in the loft as is. So thank you for watching this video. Aside video, I'll try and get more regular with these, and I'll also try and probably what they're going to be are tests in the workshop as I kind of strip stuff down or repair stuff, get stuff back in flight. A new plane will happen eventually, but not for a little while. I need to do some sort of tidbits, if you like. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you all another time. Bye bye.